Hey everyone, David here. So The Walking Dead has finally returned on Valentine's Day because nothing else brings people together than zombie guts. And the title of the episode is called No Way Out, which is not only lifted from the comics themselves, but also because there was simply not going to be any way out of this episode without somebody dying and somebody getting physically and possibly emotionally traumatized, which follows the comics very well. And so the episode picks up right where the last one left off in two tangible storylines that are happening. One is Daryl, Abraham, and Sasha being interjected on the road by Negan's men, who the leader of that little group name drops Negan, and that scene was incredible. Well, incredible to an extent because the guy leading that group, he was a really good villain, which is why I was a little disappointed that that entire group gets dispatched just like that by Daryl with a motherfucking rocket launcher. And that caught me off guard. I knew that Daryl had something up his sleeve, that he was going to save Sasha and Abraham at the last minute, especially when the guy's like, yeah, I think I'm going to kill you. I knew that there was some kind of Deus Ex Machina coming, which is something that I think plagued the episode, just like various other Walking Dead episodes. I felt like one of the things that did bog the episode down is that an awful lot of moments like that happen in this episode, where Glenn, once again, almost about to get eaten, but gets saved by Abraham and Sasha as they come to the rescue at the end of this episode. But I was not expecting for Daryl to do such a thing with a fucking rocket launcher. The actual visual of the guys exploding just right there and then caught me by surprise, and to see the guy's head burning to a crisp there on the ground at the end of that scene was kind of memorable to an extent. It's just a shame that that leader was being such a good villain that I was kind of hoping that maybe he would be the one to somehow get away and inform Negan of this group, because when you think about it, these I can't remember their saviors. I think they were called saviors. Negan's men are called saviors in the comics. They were taken care of really quick. That the only way that Negan can know about them being dead is if they're not back in time, and even then, I'm not even sure if there's any evidence that was left behind for it to indicate that it was Daryl and the rest of the Alexandria people for Negan to come after them. So I really hope they find a good way to write it in a way that they can connect that to Negan, because right now I'm not seeing anything that's kind of interesting there, except that they kind of got rid of that easily, and now we're going to have to deal with something else before Negan makes his grand entrance in the season finale. And that would mean doom for another particular character, but that's for a later time when the season does wrap around in March, I believe. So now we jump back to Alexandria and their current predicament of the walkers overrunning the entire town, and this hits another snag that I have with this episode, where the opening 10 or so minutes after the scene with Daryl and the Savior, Daryl, Sasha, and Abraham and the Saviors, I felt like the first 10 or so minutes of this episode was kind of dragging a little bit. I felt like there were certain scenes that were drawn out just so that we can meet that 42 or 43 minute runtime that they can then extend to an hour with commercials. So there were a couple of scenes I felt were drawn a little too long, especially the one with Denise and the wolf talking, and I just felt like they were lingering on that just a little too much. I'm like, okay, let's get the action going. But fortunately, they do. Once they make the run for it, and once the shit goes down with I can't believe he's the main character, Rick, and the group who are trying to make their way through the herd of walkers with Judith, baby Judith, Carl, even Father Gabriel are in there, who actually takes Judith to the church for safekeeping, and is a big bold move there for Rick to trust Gabriel with Judith, someone like Judith. But he takes the chance, and fortunately it does pay off in the safety of Judith. But shit hits the fan just like it does in the comics, all thanks to the little shithead that is Sam. I feel terrible for saying this, but never have I been so glad to see a kid get eaten on The Walking Dead, but Sam had it coming. The only thing that piques my interest in Sam's demise, of letting his fear get to him, and because of that, having this whole plan go AWOL was the fact that Carol was the one to actually getting his head. He starts to hear Carol's voice about getting eaten up by the walkers. And nice nightmarish visuals there, only being brought to us by the one and only Greg Nicotero, who directed the episode. So it begs to wonder, has Carol officially become some kind of a boogie woman or a monster in this world to where she's kind of unredeemable? I mean, she's still badass, but to a certain extent, how far can Carol go to where she kind of indirectly kills children? Even if those children are as annoying as Sam. I mean, think about it. At one point, you're going to have a character, a child character that you kind of like, and then Carol's going to be the one to tell the story, and maybe she'll end up getting somebody killed. And even to an extent, Rick will be like, Carol, why did you have to say that? Why did you have to go to that length? But anyways, Sam gets eaten. Jesse, traumatized by this whole event, pretty much commits suicide, and there goes that entire family, because feeling like Rick and Carl were responsible, Ron, another shithead, points the gun at him, and Michonne manages to dispatch him, but only resulting in the traumatic wound of Carl losing his eye, which is, again, lifted from the comics, and once again, a very nice visual by Greg Nicotero of Carl with his head just looking up and like, Dad? And the eye just being gone completely, and I'm like, holy shit, that is crazy. And a nice representation there from the comics. Caught up to that point, so it's nice to see how they actually went ahead and lifted that moment and brought it to live action form. And it was really nice. And from there on, it just builds up adrenaline by not only Rick taking on the walkers, saying, fuck this shit, I am tired of doing that. It's almost like the characters in the show have caught up with how repetitive the story for the episodes have become. They're like, I'm done hiding. I'm done being in this place and just holding up and coming up with a plan. I'm going out there. I'm tired of this shit. And everybody else goes out there with them, and they're just pumped up. They're taking it off. And I was kind of hoping for like some kind of 360 Avengers-like shot of all of them just taking out walkers. Reminded me an awful lot of the fuck you moment of Lee Everett from the Walking Dead Telltale video game, where he's just like, I'm done with this shit, and he goes after all these walkers trying to save Clementine towards the very end. Not that much of a spoiler, but kind of spoiler-ish. But I just love that moment, and then seeing everybody just take on the walkers head on inspires Rosita and Eugene and all of them that were holed up in there to finally go out there. And Eugene finally being a badass. He himself saying, I'm tired with this shit. Going out there, fighting more walkers. And this inspires the other Alexandrians who were cowards to go out there and kill other people. If I had any other nitpick to say about this would be that I would have wished to have seen at least one Alexandrian, a random Alexandrian, get eaten, becoming a casualty of this war between the humans and the walkers. But it all led up to this really nice moment that was beautifully edited together of seeing all the characters from The Walking Dead, including Father Gabriel, who went out there and in some way redeemed himself. I mean, Father Gabriel was actually kind of cool in this episode. But seeing that quick little montage of all the characters up against a black background, like you don't even see a background anymore. It's just cutting back and forth of all the, just hacking away, ending with Rick fading out, of exhaustion. It was just really, really well done. Once again, another little nitpick is how long was Maggie up there? Why did that thing not topple over sooner? Because we do go from day to night. The last time we saw her being up there with that thing starting to wobble, it was during the day, and now we're at nighttime and that thing is still sound. I'm pretty sure that thing would have fallen by now. But anyways, that kind of pertains to my nitpicks about all these Deus Ex Machinas happening within the episode, especially with Daryl coming in once again using his rocket launcher to lure the walkers into this pool of hell. I know that there was some clear symbolism going on there, but it was used to a certain effect. So overall, the episode was done really well. If I had any major complaints, would be the fact that they dispatched Negan's saviors a little too quickly to where they might actually be out of the storyline completely for the remaining 6 episodes, and it's not until the 8th episode that they will be brought, which is the season finale, that they will finally be brought back with Negan's introduction, and hopefully they find a way to connect the two elements together, because right now, like I said, there was no evidence, as far as I can tell, no evidence left behind that it was Daryl and Abraham to begin with. So, besides that though, it was a really kick-ass episode that just kept the motion going after those few moments towards the beginning that's made for a fun little mini movie of a mid-season premiere. So for that, I give No Way Out a low 9 out of 10. So we had an amazing episode of The Walking Dead this week, which can only mean we're in for a very mundane and possibly boring episode next week, because that's just how The Walking Dead works. And even if we do get another cool episode next week, we're bound to get that slow one coming right around the corner. But that's just how the cookie crumbles. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of this week's episode of The Walking Dead, and I'll see you guys next time.